Jeff, can you hear us?
Yes, sure can.
Okay, great. Tracy, just let us know when you're ready. Are you good on this one? You're good with that? Expensive, but yeah, right. Tracy, you ready? Okay.
That's because probably what I'm filling out for both. Yeah, it's cheap. Yeah. All right, we will call this January 18th, 2022 Board of Works and Safety to order. Are there any adjustments to the agenda or announcements, Chris?
No, I just point out that board member Jeff Lance is participating remotely in accordance with the board's electronic participation policy, so all votes need to be taken by roll call today.
Okay, moving on to the consent agenda. I'm gonna move this around a little bit first. Is there a request to approve the accounts payable register?
So moved.
Moved by Jason. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Jeff. And now I guess we'll do a roll call vote. So Jason, how do you vote?
Yay.
Jeff, how do you vote?
Yay.
I vote aye as well. Item 4B is approved.
Moving back to item 4A, is there a request to approve the previous meeting memorandum meeting minutes of December 29th, 2021?
So moved.
Motion by Jeff, second by Scott. Now we'll go to a roll call vote. Jeff, how do you vote?
Yay.
I vote aye as well. And Jason, you abstain?
Abstain.
Got that, Carrie? Meeting's passed. Item 4A is approved. Moving on to the resolution, a request to approve a temporary encroachment agreement for Fishers FC LLC. Ross?
Good morning, Mayor. Good morning, Board. For the record, Ross Hillary, City of Fishers Planning and Zoning Department. Before you is Resolution 011822, a request to approve a temporary encroachment agreement for Fishers Owner FC LLC. Bold Ventures LLC, doing business as Parks Place Pub, recently opened in the former Brickswood Fire Pizza corner, located at the northwest corner of East 116th Street and Municipal Drive in the Depot. The Depot was the first mixed-use building constructed under the Nickel Plate District Code and is currently owned by Flaherty & Collins, doing business as Fishers Owners FC. Parks Place Pub wishes to reinvest in their outdoor dining area that was previously a fenced area with tables and umbrellas. This area encroaches into the public right-of-way. Here's a site plan of that proposed encroachment. You'll see in the red area where that patio area is placed or planned to be. At the November 17th, 2021 Nickel Plate Review Committee, they approved the request for architectural changes, which include this attached accessory dining structure and pergola along the eastern facade of Parks Place Pub. The review committee did approve that request. The encroachment agreement would expire at the earliest of the dates if Parks Place Pub ceases to operate, if the owner or Parks Place Pub removes the outdoor dining structure or pergola, or August 31st of 2031, or if Parks Place Pub extends the terms of its lease to 2036 or 2041. The expiration is further explained in the agreement. Staff does recommend approval of this request. The petitioner has worked extensively with staff as well as our legal department. Happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you, Ross. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Jason, second by Jeff. Is there any discussion or questions for staff?
No.
Seeing none.
No.
How do you vote, Jason?
Aye.
Jeff, how do you vote?
Aye.
I vote aye as well. Motion passes. Thank you, Ross. Moving on to a request to amend Appendix B of the standard construction specifications. Jason.
Good morning. For the record, Jason Taylor, Director of Engineering. Before you is the request to update the standard construction specifications and details. The last time that the city has done this was in 2018. But what you'll notice with these standard details and drawings is versus our existing, we are in the process of essentially finalizing the actual cleanup of them. There was a lot of items that were combined into one sheet. Then we separated them and made all items and the standard details more aligned and put together. In addition, we are requesting that minor items be allowed to be approved by the Director of Engineering before coming to without having to come to the board. It would not be something such that would be major, more text amendments because of industry standards changing on the way that it's called out, or there's a minor dimension revision that needs to be made.
Great. Is there a motion to approve?
So this has nothing to do with monetary changes?
No.
No, this is
pure
just
specifications?
Just
Okay.
the details themselves.
Yeah,
There'll
okay.
be a couple other times that we come to the board yet this year. One is for the HSE through the acquisition. We're going to be updating our sanitary more thoroughly, as well as the specifications, which is the verbiage documentation that also goes in line with this. So there'll probably be two more times that we come to the board.
Gotcha.
Is there a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Jeff. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Jason. How do you vote, Jason?
Aye.
How do you vote, Jeff?
Aye.
I vote aye as well. Motion passes. Thank you, Jason.
Thank you.
Next is request to approve tent rental and services agreement. Sarah?
Good morning, Sarah Sanquist, Director, Parks and Recreation. Before you have a resolution to approve our annual agreement for the tent rental at Ambassador House. This is with Mutton Tent Rentals. We used them last year. They're E-Verified compliant, as well as a little bit less expensive than a Classic. So they'll install the tent, they'll maintenance it throughout the season, and then take it down in November.
One quick question from a broad policy. Do you know how much an actual tent costs if we were to buy one?
Yeah, it's about 110,000, maybe 120. I will note that this is the last year that we'll be renting the tent.
Okay. I was going to say it may make sense for us to buy our own going forward at that rate. So that's the only questions I had. Is there any other questions for Sarah?
What is the life expectancy of a tent if we were to purchase in the future? More than 3 years?
I think so, yeah. We would need a place to store it, and then we would need to figure out the maintenance, if DPW does it, or if we still have to contract with a company to maintain it during the year.
At least it's something to explore between now and next year.
It'll be purchased by the Wellington next year, or it'll be rented by the Wellington next
Gotcha.
year.
Yeah, right. Okay. Any other questions?
No.
Seeing none, is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Jeff, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Jason. Jason, how do you vote?
Aye.
Jeff, how do you vote?
Aye.
I vote aye as well. Motion passes. Thank you, Sarah. Next is a request to approve OpenGov contract renewal for citizen services software. Jennifer?
Good morning, Jennifer Pineda with the Business Solutions Group. We have a request to approve our annual contract with OpenGov Citizen Service Platform. It's a cloud software that we utilize for permitting, licensing, code enforcement for a number of departments around the city.
Excellent. Any questions for Jennifer?
No.
Seeing none, is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Jeff, or Jason, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Jeff. Jason, how do you vote?
Aye.
Jeff, how do you vote?
Aye.
I vote aye as well. Motion passes. Thank you, Jennifer. Next is a request to approve Fishers Park's nickel plate amphitheater rental rates. Sarah?
Sarah Sanquist, Director, Parks and Recreation. Before you is a request to approve proposed rental rates at the Nickel Plate District Amphitheater. We presented back about a year ago on these rates, and we're told to come back with additional feedback. We've done a pretty thorough review of municipalities around Indiana as well as nationwide on what they charge, and then also taken into account your feedback on what we should charge. So we are proposing a $5,000 rental fee that does not include AV services. HSE rentals would be complimentary, as well as I believe nonprofits would be up for review with Parks approval. We work with Arts and Culture Commission grant recipients a lot. We would probably most likely work with them to not charge that $5,000, but this would be for outside groups that want to rent the amphitheater. We also have a list of permissible uses, so pretty standard things. We're allowing concerts, dance groups, dance recitals, theatrical performances, stand-up comedy, podcasts. This isn't going to be a rental that you can have your wedding up on the amphitheater stage or religious services.
Any questions for Sarah regarding this?
This is good work, Sarah. I appreciate it. I know you put a lot of time and effort into this based on our guidance, and I really appreciate you doing that.
Yeah, I do. Thank you for the analysis for sure. I know the last time we had this conversation, we had a lot of questions about kind of landing the plane, both from a fee perspective, but also from a policy perspective. And I think as we get approached more often for the amphitheater, it's just good to have these policies put in place so that we can provide a consistent response to our residents and stakeholders who may want to utilize that asset. If there are no other questions, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Moved
Motion.
by Jason, second by Jeff. Jason, how do you vote?
Aye.
Jeff, how do you vote?
Aye.
I vote aye as well. Thank you, Sarah, for your work on this.
Thanks.
Next up is a request to approve purchase of fitness equipment for Fishers Fire and Emergency Services Department. Ann.
Ann Smith, Admin Finance Manager for the Fire Department. This is a request to purchase fitness equipment for Station 97. We got 3 quotes, and we would like to move forward with the lowest quote, which is BGI Fitness. They also have provided fitness equipment for all of our other stations, keeping our equipment standard amongst the stations, and also we have a standard maintenance agreement with them, which will keep everything
So do you,
the same.
do you typically buy the equipment outright or do you lease it?
We've been buying it for probably 5 or 6 years.
Okay. Any additional questions for Ann?
No.
Seeing none, is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Jeff, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Jason, all in favor? Oh, I can't say that, sorry. Jason, how do you vote?
Aye.
Jeff, how do you vote?
Aye.
I vote aye as well. Thank you, Ann. Motion passes. For our residents, thank you for being patient as we got through our daily business. Now we'll move on to the 5G cell tower considerations. We'll start first with the request to approve a residential waiver to install small cell facilities in the Cottingham Estates neighborhood. Tammy?
For the record, Tammy Houston, City of Fishers. Before you is proposal from Verizon to for 5G cell structures within Cottingham Estates. There are 3 permits that Verizon has submitted for. The others are proposed locations for future. Fisher staff and Verizon staff had a meeting with the HOA and concerned residents on October 27th of 2021. With the 13416 Lantern Road location, there were some concerns about the proposed location based on a amateur radio antenna that is near the area. Verizon did some verification with the homeowner and specifications between the 2 antennas, and they verified that it was not going to have any conflict with that amateur radio antenna. The other 2 locations with 8739 Gillingham Lane, there were no comments, revised location suggestions made by the HOA or residents. And 13200 Nottingham Road. The homeowner that is directly affected has requested that have lights on it. The others, they did not want the lights on any of the other locations.
So 8739, you said?
8739, there were no comments or revised location suggestions.
And the other one wanted lights?
At 13200, the homeowner that is directly affected right there on the corner requested that there be lights on it.
Thank you, Tammy. Is there anyone here from Cottingham Estates that would like to speak regarding these towers? My only question, Tammy, was on, find it here, 13416.
Yes.
That one was reviewed, and was the stakeholder, maybe hard for you to recall this, but at the corner of Nottingham and Lantern, that homeowner, were they involved in the conversation?
They were, I do not believe they were on the call, but the HOA had talked to, they had stated that they had gone to the residents in the area to get feedback. They did not receive any feedback on that from that person.
Okay. Any additional questions from Jason or Jeff?
The amateur radio tower, that's certainly the first time we've heard that one. So in the event that there's an issue in the future, what is the resolution? Or is that homeowner stuck with?
I don't
Or
know.
I'm not sure that that's even in our purview, but it was brought up, so now I'm asking.
Yeah.
I don't know if there was interference for some reason because of it interfering with someone's amateur radio. I don't know which one supersedes which, Chris. That would be a very nuanced piece of the legal. I have no idea on that front.
Yeah, and the only reason I'm asking is, I mean, I'm sure that homeowner has invested, you know, a fair amount of money in that.
It sounds like they sorted it out. Is that correct, Tammy, in terms of any concerns that were there?
The information that Verizon provided as far as not having any issues with the interference, the homeowner did not comment back.
Okay. Jason, did you have something?
Okay.
So 13195, so I'm clear it's in that open area close to that corner on the circle?
13195, yes, their proposed location is, it's near where the school zone sign is, the flashing school zone. In speaking with the property owner there, Verizon stated that they would be able to move it to alternate number 1.
So they're willing to move to alternate, are we moving it to alternative number 1?
It's a proposed location. They do not have a permit. They did not submit a permit for that location. Verizon was okay with being able to move it to alternative number 1.
Well, I think to be consistent with what we talked about, you know, so if we're not putting it at 13195 and they want to move it and everyone's agreement to move it, then we need to file a new permit to move it.
Right, and they have not submitted a permit for it originally. It's just a proposed location.
Oh, this
So
is just a proposed location?
Yeah, this is just a
Okay.
proposed
I'm
location.
with
Yeah, there's only 3 today, right, that we're
Yeah.
reviewing?
Yes, the 3 blue are the
Oh, I see.
ones that have been actually submitted for a permit.
So we'll hold on that one then.
Okay.
All right.
So Tammy, just for clarification then, let's reflect in the resolution that the locations that we're contemplating and approving today are only we're considering are the 3
Blue ones.
blue
The 3 blue,
items
yes.
that are on there.
All right, thank you.
Because I think the resolution had some of the future locations as well.
Well, do we need to amend that, Chris, to make sure that they're not getting approved for locations that have no
and so that's
permits?
what I'm trying to reflect in the record. So the consideration right now is for 13416 Lantern Road, 8739 Gillingham Lane, and 13200 Nottingham Road.
Correct.
So if the board's all in agreement with that, then we'll make sure that the resolution only contemplates those items.
Are there any other questions on those 3 addresses that Chris just stated? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve as amended just the 3 addresses that Chris just stated for the record?
Motion to approve the 3 locations.
Okay. Motion by Jeff, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Jason. Jason, how do you vote?
Aye.
Aye. Jeff, how do you vote?
Aye.
And I vote aye as well. Motion passes. Moving on to request to approve residential waivers to install small cell facilities in Conor, Knoll.
Tammy Houston, City of Fishers. Before you are 3 locations within Conor Knoll that have been submitted for a permit. The other 3 locations that are indicated in red are proposed locations for future. The 3 for consideration today is 8569 Knoll Crossing, 13188 Knollwood Place, and 13123 Knowlton Court. 13123 Knowlton Court, when we, Fisher staff and Verizon met with HOA and the residents back in September of 2020 and November of 2021. Verizon did state that they would be able to relocate 13123 Knowlton Court onto 131st Street, so it would be outside of the neighborhood. And that is shown on page 5. It'll be moved to the south side of the neighborhood onto 131st Street.
So 13123 has been moved completely out of the neighborhood?
Completely out of the neighborhood onto 131st Street right of way.
Okay.
8569. Originally, Verizon had originally proposed this farther to the north, kind of around that bend. They were unable to keep it in there because of a water line issue. So Verizon, prior to speaking with the HOA, had moved it to the property line between these two homes. The HOA had still requested that it be moved farther to the south to an intersection. Verizon stated that they would not be able to do that as they would lose coverage. They had also, the HOA had also suggested that it be moved to any kind of utility easement or anything behind the homes. Duke has a utility easement behind 8570, kind of along that back stretch there. Verizon stated that they would not be able to move it there as it's in an easement rather than within right-of-way. So there was no consensus on 8569, no crossing. For 13188 Knollwood Place, the HOA had suggested moving it to a utility easement behind the homes. Again, Verizon stated they would not be able to do that. They had suggested moving it to the HOA had suggested moving it to the north side of Buffett Parkway. Verizon stated there was a gas line conflict, that they would not be able to move it across the street. The HOA had also suggested to move it kind of to the southeast, to be on the property line between the two homes on the east side of Knowlton Court. Verizon stated that they would not be able to do that because of the change of topography. It would affect their coverage.
Okay.
So
Thank you.
there was no consensus on that location either.
All right. Is that it, Tammy?
Yes.
Okay. Are there individuals from Conor that would like to speak today? Yes, sir.
Good morning. My name's Louis Mijak. I'm a resident who lives at 8570 Knoll Crossing. Also vice president on Conor Knoll's HOA. So here just kind of to represent the interests of the homeowners. Thank you for all of your work and assistance on this process. I started this in May of 2020, so it's been a long time coming. Just some, Tammy summed up our meeting with Verizon fairly accurately, and unfortunately there are some general concerns the residents have with regards to the safety and efficacy of the technology. I understand this board can't take those things into consideration, but I would just like to get those as a matter of public record. We're dealing with a technology that currently there are no federal safety guidelines in place for. In August of 2021, EHT et al. Versus FCC, the U.S. Court of Appeals for the District Court of Washington, D.C., ruled that the FCC safety standards as outlined in their 1996 Telecommunications Act, their decision to not update those from 1996 was found to be arbitrary and capricious. In the ruling, which I won't go into a lot of detail to, but the proliferation of new technologies such as 5G is specifically cited. The homeowners, in addition to having serious concerns about the threat this poses to the aesthetic of the neighborhood and home values, they're also concerned for a technology that essentially hasn't been proven to be safe yet. We're also dealing with a technology that we're currently on the final day of a stay issued by the FAA against the deployment of 5G technology over airline concerns that it will interfere with the altimeters on commercial aircraft. So obviously there are a lot of questions that are still being addressed with this technology. Again, I understand we're here to address things that are only within the purview of this board, but I just wanted to make those concerns known. I had submitted photos for the 8569 location, which if you scroll down, I believe it's included with the resolution. These pictures were taken from my window as well as my neighbor Gary's front window. So as you can see, this location would be highly invasive to, well, the whole street, but us specifically. You know, it's going right there, right in front of.
Louis, were you part of the call with Verizon?
Yes.
Can you clarify, because I was a little confused, switching gears to 13188? That location, what
Sure.
the neighborhood or the residents, as a representative of the HOA, what it is that they wanted to see on that intersection versus what Verizon put on there?
That's kind of a thing where it doesn't, that's a location where it doesn't seem like any great solution exists. Verizon, we suggested moving it across the street to kind of that space between the homes.
And the reason you wanted to do that is because the two homeowners on the other side of the street, they can see the tower from their windows? Is that why?
Yeah,
Where it's
it'll
currently
be
placed?
less out of view. We don't want it on the intersection at all, but obviously we understand there's certain things we have to abide by. But you know, there were plenty of more ideal locations. I think for that one in particular, moving it a little bit more to the south, along that, you see that the house on the southeast corner has that yard that goes along, so that wouldn't be really in the view of anybody's windows.
Yeah.
You know, I think as far as picking a location, that's certainly not ideal. There's a lot of concerns too with the size, the diameter and size of the base, of the tower. I've seen the new model, the black one that's got that kind of like canister on the bottom, and that's a pretty heavily traveled road in the neighborhood, and that'll raise additional issues with people being able to see around the corner and things like that. You've got something that's, I don't know the exact specifications, but it's about 3 feet wide and 6-7 feet tall before it starts to get to the actual pole part. So there were a lot of concerns with that.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
And then for the ones in red aren't being heard today, so I don't know if you want to hear anything.
I would hold off on those. I think this is for your information only, but we'll evaluate those. I don't want to make any comments on them or do anything on those until they actually file a permit, which could be tomorrow or it could be a year and a half from now. So I think we wait to have any conversations about those till a later date.
And for the record, for the location on Knowlton Court, we would be in agreement with the location if it was moved to 131st. So,
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Anyone else from Conor like to speak? All right, a couple points of clarification here, Tammy. The tower that got moved to 131st Street.
Yes.
Was that permit filed for 131st Street, or was it
No.
filed? No.
It was filed in Conor Knoll.
Okay.
So it was not filed for 131st Street.
I'll make a couple comments and I'll open up to Jeff and Jason for their comments. I'm not in favor of 8569. I don't see a viable solution there, so I will be making a motion to deny that permit.
One point of clarification I wanted to add to that, the HOA has requested that the structures within the neighborhood have no lights on them. Just
Sure. that's their purview. 8569, I am not in support of. It's too intrusive for the individual homeowners in that location. I don't see a viable solution to it. If Verizon wants to come back with a proposed alternative location, that's their prerogative, but I would not be supportive of that today. And then from a technical perspective, we would have to deny the permit for the tower that gets moved to 131st Street and refile that. But we will note for the record that the HOA is supportive of that move and that I am supportive of that as well. I'm a little bit torn on 13188 because it does fit from an intersection standpoint. We do try to move these to the intersections. The one question I do have, and I think that Lewis brought it up, is there any kind of sightline issue there with the tower going there? If someone's trying to make a left turn or make a, look down the road, is there any issue there from a line of sight perspective?
I didn't see any with it being a stop condition on the court. With the curvature of the road, it kind of helps limit the amount of
I just want to make sure that that's the case. Jason or Jeff, do you have any questions or comments?
I agree with what you just said. And thanks for providing this photographs from the windows. That really helped.
Jeff, anything from your perspective?
I'm in concurrence with your statements.
That being the case, I will make a motion to deny permit 8569 and what was the other one, Tammy?
13123.
13123 and approve 13188.
I'll second.
Motion by Scott, second by Jason. How do you vote, Jason?
Aye.
Aye. Jeff, how do you vote?
Aye.
Aye. I vote aye as well. Motion passes. Thank you, Tammy, and thank you, Conor Knoll neighborhood, for being here today and being patient throughout the process.
Mayor, I'll just note too that we'll amend the resolution to reflect those as well, similar to the fashion of the last neighborhood. I think there were proposed locations on the resolution, so we'll limit it to the 3 that were just under consideration.
Okay. Tammy, we'll move on to Weaver Woods.
Okay. Tammy Houston, City of Fishers. Before you are 3 locations within Weaver Woods North. Two locations were previously approved last year, or I'm sorry, in 2020. So the 3 locations that are up for approval today or consideration today are 14325 Nolan Drive, 8700 Providence Drive, and 8792 Lindsay Court. The HOA and Verizon Fisher staff spoke about these locations last November 3rd of 2021. Weaver Woods North, they're against the installations of 5G structures in general. However, if they are required to have them, they would prefer to have some of them with no lights. 14325 Nolan Drive, there were no comments or revised location suggestions received that were received by the HOA or Fisher staff. So the HOA is okay with that location. They're also okay with that location having a light on it. 8700 Providence Drive. Though the neighborhood is against the structures in general, they have agreed to that proposed location. And 8792 Lindsay Court. The residents on the call had suggested moving that location to the intersection to replace a existing street light. Verizon stated that they would lose coverage in the cul-de-sac and if they were to do that. Based on conversations on the call, the neighborhood, again, although they are not in favor of it, they have agreed to the proposed location at 8792.
Okay. Thank you, Tammy. Is there anyone here from Weaver Woods that would like to share their concerns? Jason and Jeff, any comments?
No.
Are you deliberating, Jason?
Yeah, my 8792.
Yeah. I struggle with 8792 as well. If there's a street light that they would like to replace at the end of the intersection, although I wonder, because the picture's cut off here, I don't know if that becomes a problem for the neighbors that are directly across from that.
That would be similar to the Harrison Lakes, where there's a home right there. You can kind of see their driveway right at the end of the cul-de-sac.
Yeah,
And I believe the street light is on the east side of the road, so it would be near that driveway.
right in their front yard.
Mhm.
So this does look like probably the best placement in terms of line of sight for any residents by the looks of it.
There's already a street light, so.
Is there a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Jeff, is there a second? Or further discussion?
So we're moving for all three in this motion?
That's, I believe the motion on the table is all three.
I'm not gonna second all three.
Would you like to make an amendment?
I will,
Well, the motion dies because there's not a second, so let's start back with your thoughts, Jason.
I would make a motion for 1325 and 8700 Providence Drive. And then table or deny 8792.
I'll second that motion. Is there any additional conversation or comments prior to a vote? Jeff, anything you want to share, thoughts?
No, I understand the concern. I'm good with that.
So there's a motion by Jason, second by Scott. Jason, how do you vote?
Mayor, to clarify for that third location, are we making a motion to table that, or are we making a motion to deny that?
It's a denial.
Deny.
Thank you.
Because honestly, even if they propose another location, it'll have to be denied and brought back anyways.
Clarification for the record.
So,
Thank you.
so we have a vote of yes by Jason. Jeff, how do you vote?
Yes.
And I vote aye as well. Moving on to our final neighborhood for this afternoon, or this morning, Glen Abbey. Tammy?
Tammy Houston, City of Fishers. Before you is one location within Glen Abbey Village that is up for consideration. It's at 10299 Cheswick Lane. It is at the intersection. Fisher staff and Verizon spoke with the HOA and concerned residents lastly September 1st of 2021. There were concerns about the location being right at the intersection in the entrance of their neighborhood. Verizon did come back after the original call and suggested moving the structure to the intersection of Braywick Circle and Glen Abbey Lane. I believe that was the street. No comments were received on that proposed location. There was no concurrence with, no consensus with this proposed location.
So we're contemplating 10299, correct?
Correct.
And there was a suggestion by the neighborhood to,
There was a suggestion by Verizon. After the call to move it to the intersection of Braywick Circle.
I don't see how the neighborhood would view that as a better alternative.
We did not receive any comments.
It puts it directly in front of the two homes.
Yeah.
Across the street from the circle.
Right. Other, well, before we get to our comments, is there anyone from Glen Abbey that would like to speak? Come on up.
Morning. My name is Jacob Lawrence with the firm of Eads Marine Pugh. I represent the Windermere Homeowners Association, which Glen Abbey is a part of. So as far as 10299 Cheswick Lane, we have issues as far as the fact that they would violate the neighborhood-specific standards, which obviously I believe the parties in this room and on this board were aware of a meeting that occurred last week with Council Douglas Everett from Denton Greenbaum and I believe it's Bingham Greenbaum now. Either way, where he had confirmed what we had already argued previously, that the new state law 1164 does state that the board here does have the ability to restrict based on prior put in place, the waiver process that you had put in place prior, based on neighborhood standards. And due to that, the Fishers UDO Unified Ordinance was put in place based on that, not as a zoning restriction, but as a neighborhood-specific ordinance. And part of the neighborhood-specific ordinance there, the neighborhood-specific standard was the use of that ordinance, and part of that ordinance is the vision triangle and clearance that is set forth in section 6.20. We would believe at this point that that would, and actually the proposed location as well, which we never received any type of construction plans for comment, hence why there was no comment, but the 10299 would violate that section, which states that any kind of obstruction in vision between the heights of 3 and 8 feet above established street grade would be violative, and that no primary or accessory structures can be planned or placed within the vision clearance triangle. There's obviously aesthetic issues that we're looking through as well with section C2G of the waiver procedure, and the fact that the planned towers do not meet the standards as far as the aesthetic requirements of the neighborhood, nor do they camouflage or blend in at all. What you'd be looking at as well is a safety issue. That's the main concern here, besides the aesthetic concerns for the association. Again, legally, from a legal perspective, our position is that, again, any argument that we have provided would be reiterated herein. I know we have provided our summary of legal arguments to this board, as well as response when Verizon's counsel had responded, stating, obviously, case law that I won't go into here because you do have that on record. But again, this board has the ability to deny, not only on the aesthetics, but as well as through the use of the neighborhood standards. And the neighborhood standards would state that 10299 would be violative, and as such should be denied. Thank you.
Thank you. Any additional questions or comments? Yes, sir. Thanks.
Good morning, Don Wyatt, Windermere resident and Windermere Board of Directors member. Presented you this morning a Windermere 5G petition signed by the homeowners within the Windermere HOA. These signatures were collected over just a matter of a few days since last Friday, but should give you a good representation of the general consensus of the feeling of the Windermere residents. 238 total signatures for the record. Just to summarize, since we're making public comments here, what the petition contains, the homeowners signed this petition based on 4 different points, one being the aesthetics of the proposed above-ground cell structures. Number 2, that Verizon refuses to consider alternate locations for these cell towers within the HOA community. 3, that the proposed significant change will diminish the values of the properties throughout our neighborhood. And number 4, the structures will interrupt and reduce the quiet enjoyment of the neighborhood by our residents. For the record, I just want the board to know that the HOA doesn't oppose the 5G technology. What we do oppose is the numerous issues and problems that these towers present for our community, including Verizon's unwillingness to negotiate alternate locations for these towers. They seem to be insistent on placing these within the right-of-way. We have offered HOA common area, which would help provide camouflage and less aesthetic impact on the community and the neighborhood. One final comment. In November, we did put up some 5G mock-up towers within the Glen Abbey neighborhood. One of them at the proposed location of 10299. These were 24 inches in diameter at the base and 7 feet tall, just mocking up the base of these towers so our residents could have a better understanding of the visual impact these will have on our community. And that's it. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you, sir.
Good morning.
Yes, sir.
I'm Brian Butler. I live in Windermere, 10055 Muirfield Trace. Wanted to thank the board for the opportunity to speak this morning and represent the homeowners in the affected neighborhood. I went door to door Thursday night after our discussion on Wednesday afternoon. We realized quickly that our neighborhood was starting to get into COVID lockdown. I went to 9 residences, 3 were shut down, and suggested that I approach them separately because of needing to quarantine. I got 6 signatures by hand. So we turned that into an online petition that was posted on Friday, and as of this morning, we had over 200 residents, which is well over 20% of the neighborhood in 4 days, including the weekend. So I think it's pretty overwhelming that, first of all, I've lived in the neighborhood for 18 years. We've never met quorum for a homeowner association meeting. So to get 200 signatures is about 5 times the average annual homeowners participation. And we did that in 4 days. So I will suggest to the board that the neighborhood is fairly opposed to the aesthetics and public safety concerns that these towers represent. As Don alluded to, we had put up some tubes for that to determine what that impact would be. In effect, we have a 5-foot utility corridor that's established for buried utilities between the edge of the road and the back of the front of the sidewalk. It carries Metronet, AT&T, Comcast, electric from Duke, anything besides your sanitary going below the street, and to put a 3-foot diameter base, 11-foot deep in that utility corridor would be a huge disservice to everybody going forward, in that we would severely restrict the ability to do anything further with that corridor. And the construction permit that was submitted on 1299 failed to identify about 3/4 of the underground obstructions and how they existed in that plane. We also understand that based on the UDO, the Vision Site Triangle, it is squarely within it for the placement of 10299. And we'd appreciate it that it be denied. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Good morning, Greg Estelle, Windermere resident and also a member of the HOA board. Just to reiterate our thanks for your thoughtful consideration of this waiver application, and 2, to emphasize that the rights of way in our neighborhood are designed and originally approved at time of development for underground utility access only. They were never engineered or intended to be safely utilized for above ground utility structures. and violating that design intent and use creates unassessed risks that cannot be mitigated post hoc. We have offered community property and utility easements as alternative locations, and the applicant refuses to consider these options. Based on these facts, as well as those that have been presented by my colleagues, we believe that denial of this waiver application is consistent with other denials previously issued by this board, and we encourage you to deny this one. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing there's no other public comment, share a couple thoughts from me and then open it up to Jason, Jeff. I'm actually, I want to be very specific about this. I heard all of the arguments that were shared today, and I'm going to tell you that I'm going to deny or vote to deny this permit, but not for any of the rationale that was provided today by the residents. Not that I don't respect and appreciate your comments and the petitions and things of that nature, or safety concerns or legal arguments. The reason I'm going to deny it is because less than 100 feet away, there's a median at the entrance to this neighborhood that to me would be the least intrusive place to put one of these towers, and would be consistent with what we've tried to do in every entrance to neighborhoods. And for me, this shifting it 100 feet and literally you could put a light on it in the middle of that entrance and light up the ingress egress to this neighborhood and have a win-win for everyone. And that's not occurring, and instead it's in the neighborhood next to homes. And for me, I just don't think that that's the optimal placement for this tower. So I will not be in favor of this location, but I want to be on record that it's not out of an acceptance of any particular argument made by the residents here today, but rather just I think there's a more optimal location to be found. That's my perspective, but I want to open it up to Jason and Jeff for any questions or comments.
So, Jason, for the record, I am also in favor of denying. Additionally to the mayor's comments of the median, there's also an existing tower, a proposed one, on Molenkoff Road, close to the intersection as well. And Verizon just validated moving it out of a cul-de-sac into a thoroughfare street, similar distance as acceptable. So that's my rationale.
Jeff, any comments or questions?
No, I'm in concurrence with your statements.
So I will make a motion to deny 10299 based on its current location. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Jason. How do you vote, Jason?
Nay.
How do you vote, Jeff?
Nay.
I vote nay as well. Motion denied. Is there a motion to adjourn? Or wait, I should ask Chris, are there any additional items? Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion by Jason, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Jeff. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. No,
Aye.
it's good, we're good. Meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone.